Hey there, Wargamers, Trusting our Paint here today. Boom! We're going to get some more progress in on our Gamma Galaxy Clan Wolf Timberwolf. Thank you guys for tuning in today. I appreciate you being here. If you're new here, please strike that like and subscribe button. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you for having my six. I appreciate you having my back. Thank you for being here to support what I do. I really do appreciate you. That said, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. If you guys aren't aware of where we are, make sure you check out the previous videos in the series. We're working on our Gamma Galaxy Timberwolf tutorial series, and today we're going to be working on the canopy and the lasers. To start things off, we're going to grab some white paint here. We've got the Bold Titanium White from Pro Acrylic. Any white is probably going to do just fine. But we're going to thin this down a little bit and start applying it to our mini. This is going to help us get set for doing the things we want to do today. So we can grab a little bit of white, and I'll zoom out a little bit so you guys can see. Whoop! And I've got a little palette here and a little dribble of white here. I'm just going to put a little bit of water there, and I also have a little bit on my palette that I can grab if I need it. So let's mix this up. There we go. And white is one of those tricky paints that you may have to apply multiple coats because it can be a pain in the butt to work with. So don't rush it, be patient, and get the white paint where you need it to be. So we're going to start off today. We're going to try and hit the centers of these lasers with a little dot of white if we can. It's not the easiest thing, but we're going to try. There we go. So we got one dot. Again, it's not the easiest thing. We're going to try because it's going to make for a really easy effect. So come up here. Whoop. Alright, so we didn't quite achieve it on this one. So let's try and fill in. And we're going to come in while it's wet, grab our paintbrush, and try the best we can to mop up the edge here. There we go. That's not too bad. Alright, so I'm going to let that dry, and we're going to try and dab the center of that again. It's not quite as perfect as I want. I'm not sure if that shows on camera, but I'll probably tidy that up. So, like I said, this can be a little difficult, but once you get it, not too bad. So we're going to come in here. Again, trying to hit the center of that one. Alright, and we kind of had a little bit overage here, so just come in with our clean paintbrush and tidy up the top a little bit, feather out the bottom just a little bit. Alright, and now for the last one. See if we can't get this one. Nope, same thing. Alright, it's fine. We'll just fill that up as best we can. Come back with our paintbrush and just feather the areas that weren't super duper clean. Not the end of the world. Could have done worse. Could have done worse. This is why, again, we thin down that white paint. Alright, so we're going to come over here, and we're going to try and get this one a little bit more tidy. It wasn't perfect, so I'm just going to try and hit the center there. Okay, and this one's not quite as big as the other one, so I think I might be reasonably happy where these are. Now we're going to come in and do kind of a little crescent down on the bottom edge here. Just going to hit like that. Do the same thing over here. Okay. And we'll do the same thing on the other two spots as well. So what we are actually doing is creating hot spots or bright points, or similar to kind of pre-shading, for when we get to the next step, when we grab some speed paints or contrast paint, whatever it is you would like to use, which will be going over the tops of these. Okay, so I'm going to come back in with just a smidge here and kind of just get the bottom a little brighter. Right on the edge, because our white paint was a little thin, so as it's drying, it's kind of not as intense. and we'll give that some time there. While that's drying, I'm going to come in on the canopy and try as best we can to paint this over. Now, I think in the reference photo, the canopy edges are white, so we'll probably come in here and let's do a little bit of gray first, and then we'll build up our white. For this, we have some bright neutral gray and our neutral gray, and we're going to come in and fill in the whole canopy area that is going to be white, including the cockpit, with gray, and that way we can build up our paint. So we're going to start with that neutral gray first and kind of determine the areas we want white. And for that, I think we're going to go right here and be very cognizant of where that Clan Wolf logo is, because it's going to be a little bit on top of what we are going to have as white. So we're going to try and paint around it. Again, I'm giving you guys tools, and if you were worried about this, you could have done this part before the decals. You can kind of do it in any order you want, but I usually like to save the canopy for last, because that is usually my reward to myself for doing something cool. Like when I get through a project, I leave like the step that really feels the coolest for last, and I feel like this step, and I say for last, I still have to base this model, but of the painting part, this feels like kind of adding the finishing touches, and this is the area that I like to leave for the end, because I feel like it brings the piece together, and it's my probably favorite part. This or maybe decals. Let's almost maybe tied, because the decals really do add a lot to a mini, I feel. So we'll go ahead and box this in with our gray, and we'll let it dry, and then we'll start trying to build up our other colors. With our neutral gray dry, we're going to come in and try and layer up a little bit of our bright neutral gray over the top. Try and get a little bit of fade. So we're going to come in with a little bit of our medium mixed with our neutral gray. Going to kind of coat the area here. We're going to be moving quickly with this because we're going to be trying to feather some paint. So go get this coated on as best we can. Now we're going to grab a little bit of this bright neutral gray, and we're going to try and feather this on the top here. Not the easiest thing to do in this area, but we're trying to build up our white, and having this gray underneath is gonna help. We're also trying to be cognizant of those cockpit windows and get those lit up too. Not a big ordeal, because this whole area is going to be kind of pushing for white. Give a little bit more of our neutral gray, because kind of dried out there. A little bit of that bright neutral gray. There we go. Whoops. Alright, so it's kind of looking like a hot mess right now, but we'll let that dry and continue trying to push this up into white. With our bright neutral gray dry, we can see where we've built up a little bit of a highlight here, a strong point, and it fades down, and then over here it fades. So we're going to come in with a little bit of this bright neutral gray, kind of make almost like a little bit of a glaze here on our palette, just mixing some medium in there. And so we're going to try and get a little bit of a fade going on the canopy. And not a huge ordeal, don't gotta worry too much about this. We're gonna be aiming, because our hot spot is here, I kind of want the opposite direction, so bottom left to be the bright spot on our canopy. So we're just gonna pull this down, kind of towards the bottom left. A little bit more paint in there. There we go. Well, we're gonna feather this a little bit, so clean up my brush real fast. We're just gonna feather back and forth. There we go. Like I said, this is going to look like a dumpster fire for now, but we're going to keep at it. There we go. And we're going to kind of feather that up. Grab some of that bright neutral gray as well over in here. These areas aren't as big of a deal, just kind of pull down. Same thing over here. And these were a little bit more intense, so we'll just kind of feather those over. And then we'll come in with our bright neutral gray, and we'll just kind of highlight this whole area here. As you can notice, the highlight is way more intense than kind of the blend we had going on. It's not quite as tight as I wanted, so we'll just come in here and feather that out. Okay. I'm going to hit the tops of the canopy here, and we'll probably tidy these up a few times as we go, because the step's a little bit precarious. And honestly, because the CSO art for this has a white canopy, or white trim, it makes it a little bit more difficult because it's such a bright color. If this was like a black trim, we'd be much easier for us to achieve the kind of results we're aiming for. Okay, grab a little bit of that medium, thin this down as kind of like a glaze, and we're just gonna brighten up this hot spot right here, because we can't really highlight that because it's already super bright, so we'll just kind of brighten that up. And while that's drying, our canopy right here looks to be dried up pretty good, so we'll just pull in a little bit more of that bright neutral gray, kind of glazing towards the bottom. You can see where that area kind of got washed away, so we'll just brighten that up right there. And you can kind of glaze this in until your heart's content, so spend as much or as little time as you want on those. But these two windows are going to be the primary of what we're working with. So we'll give that a moment to dry, and we'll start coming in with white and brightening this up some more. So it's dry. We've got our thin down white on our palette here. We're going to grab a little bit of our medium, grab some of that. We're going to come through and we're going to edge highlight our canopy trim here. Just brighten that up. And we've got a little bit of a nasty mold line I missed on the canopy here, so that hot spot's kind of hiding it right here, right now. But that is where we're getting the hot spots, right on top of that edge that I missed when I was sanding. But again, this is one of those, you can spend as much or as little time on the cleanup process as you want. In this case, I was trying to get to filming quickly, so some concessions were made. But that's an area that you can clean up yourself if you like. As I've mentioned multiple times in the series, spend as much or as little time doing any of these steps as you want. So, got that brightened up, clean up right in here. Okay, grab some of that white. Shoop, shoop, shoop. And we'll hit the kind of edges of our canopy here. And building up this gray was also helpful because painting this directly over that orange may or may not have been fruitful for us. It's a little bit dark and might have given us some trouble with coverage. So covering that gray, or the various layers of gray, is a lot easier. So grab some of this white here. I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a highlight, so to speak, on our canopy, the glass. Get that nice, get us a point on our brush here. We're going to go for the bottom edge here. this looks like a dumpster fire currently, but I promise we're gonna get there. So we're gonna grab some of this medium we've been using. Gonna make a little bit of a glaze for this white, and we're gonna build up the overall color of white. And this is best done with lots of small layers until you're happy. If you go too strong early on, you'll get too much. The paint will be too intense, and you won't be happy. So play with your glaze until you're pleased, and we're just gonna kind of cover all of this gray and try and build up a transition to a kind of white tint that we prefer. We've gone ahead and done the edge highlights first, so we can kind of preserve some of that and see like how intense we want this to be, because it's hard to edge highlight white once it's already like pure white. So we did the highlights, and we're just going to put these glazes of white over all of the gray until we are happy. And this is a bit tedious. This whole step or whole phase here is a bit more tedious than everything else we've done. If you were not interested in this much effort, you might cover the area in white, pure white, if you could do it, or get a nice coverage on there, and then come in with maybe an apothecary white contrast paint, or whatever the equivalent would be for Army Painter, and then call it good. You may do that. It might not be quite as crisp, but that is a thing you could do. And one of the things I like to do in my videos is sometimes we go overboard, sometimes we don't, but just giving you tools for your toolbox, and you can choose, again, which ones to use and how much time you want to spend on any one step. So if you learned something from this, but it's not a thing you want to do on every model, that is absolutely okay. One of the things you have to do when you are doing this, though, is be patient, because this takes multiple coats, and you don't want to mess it up, so we're going to allow that to dry. We'll come in with a few more coats, build that up, and then we'll be happy. While that is drying, though, we'll let those edges, I'll get to that off camera, but we'll also do a little bit of a glaze over the actual glass on these canopies too, pulling towards the bright white that we put, because we want that kind of gradation. Okay, much like we did with our gray, just come in and feather that out. Okay. And you can see we're getting a little bit of a white tint, and then when the intensity of the white, because we're pulling to the bottom left and we're feathering off, is getting brighter and brighter. So we'll do that a few times until we're happy with the intensity of that and the trim of the actual cockpit there. So I'm pretty happy with where our white currently is on this piece. So we're going to come in with some Hive Dweller Purple from Army Painter and some Purple Alchemy. These are 1.0 paints. I don't know what the 2.0 equivalents are. So for this, we're going to come in and start working on the canopy. Now, if we hit some of the white, that's okay. We'll do our best not to, and we'll tidy up. So let's come in with a little bit of the kind of brighter of the two purples, which is going to be the Purple Alchemy. And we'll come in here, and we're going to hit the kind of lower sides of the his cockpit glass first. And you can see, because we've got that white on our hand, kind of an idea of what color that's going to be. On the CSO page, looks like the canopy is kind of a purple color, so we're going to come in with that. Okay. Let's sop up some of this. And we're going to grab some of this dark purple. We're going to hit the top corner a little bit. So we're going to kind of mix these on the Mini. Now, this side canopy is not the easiest to hit, so don't stress too much if you don't get it quite perfect. Not the end of the world. Okay. Come over here and do the same thing. A little bit of a purple edge there, not to the end of the world. So let's come in and grab some of this darker purple here, and we're going to hit the top right corner of the canopy first. We're going to grab some of the other purple now, we're going to hit the bottom left side of the canopy. And then we're going to do our best to try and feather these in the middle. And you can see the pre-shading we put underneath was exactly what we were going for. So this can be tedious, this can be hard and a little annoying, and I'm not even perfect at it either. You can also do some wet blending with regular paints, which is what I traditionally do, but because some of you guys may have more of the speed paints or contrast paints on hand, this is what I wanted to work with for this video. You also want to move quickly with this because we're trying to feather them together, so you don't want the darker purple to dry while we're putting on the more pinky purple. You want to be able to blend them. A little bit more of that darker purple here, and just hit the bottom spot right there. Okay, and you can see if we messed up any of our white, we can always come back in and tidy that up. So I'm going to let this dry, and we're going to do one more light glaze coat of both and see how we feel. As we get prepped for that glaze coat, I'm going to put a little bit of white down first because we're working with these like transparent paints and we're going to get some benefits out of this. So I'm going to come up here to the dark kind of purple area, and we're just going to pull a little bit of a line here. It doesn't have to be huge. Just a little bit. So you're helping kind of define the edge, which is what we want. Okay, and we'll do the same over here. Well, if I could get our paint to come off there. If I could. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to come and do the same on the other side. And my thoughts are, when we do the final glaze, it's going to tint these, and then we can finish out the canopy kind of edges from there. Our white paint is not wanting to come off. Reload the brush here. There we go. Still giving us trouble, not sure why. Not sure why. There we go. So I'm liking pretty well where that's at, so we'll give that white just a minute to set up, and then we'll come back in with our kind of final glaze over the top. And so we've given that white a minute to dry. We're going to come in and do a final glaze here. So for this one, we're going to do the same thing we previously did, but we thinned down that dark and kind of pinky purple a little bit, and we're going to apply some of the dark here in the top corner, pulling towards the top corner. Like so. And then we'll quickly rinse our brush and we'll grab some of that kind of pinky purple, and we're going to pull kind of from the opposite side. So this time we're not worried so much about the kind of mixing in the middle, but rather just enhancing the edge there. So we've currently got the kind of pinky purple loaded up, so we'll come down here and hit this lower edge. And we'll do a quick rinse and grab our brighter purple and hit the kind of top edge here. And you can repeat this until your heart is content, but I kind of think that is a pretty nice fade, all things considered. So we're going to give that a moment to dry. We're going to come back in with our white, and we'll finish out the kind of glass portion here. So now we're going to come back in with our white. I've thinned down some new white, since the other white was giving me trouble. And we're going to come in here and, whoops, we got a little flake of something right there. Be careful. I was about to put paint slopped hands on our mini. Let's get this off real fast. That's a thing that happens sometimes. I'm not paying attention. Okay. But anyways, we're going to come in here, and now we're going to push the bottom left corner again with that white edge and just bring that back up. And this one can be pretty intense. We are okay with this. This is perfectly fine. There we go. So that really helps define that corner. Grab some more white here. We're going to do the same on the bottom here. Now, canopies are a lot of like stop, go, clean up kind of thing, because there's such tight little spots that you're getting into. So there'll likely be some cleanup we have to do even on this one, working on the YouTube channel as we get towards the end, because there's a final, well, I won't say final, there's a few steps I do here, and one of them involves black lining the edges of the canopies, and sometimes it's hard to why is this swinging me so shoulder? It's hard to get in between the white line we're doing here and the edge of a canopy, and then you end up having to do the white line again. So it's kind of best guess the first time here, but we're gonna do our best. All right, so that should have been much easier to pull. I'm not sure why my white is giving me so much trouble coming off the brush today. I do not know. But we've got this nice, like the way this white kind of blends in with the Speedpoint 1.0s, they reactivate. So that white's gone on, it's kind of turned a little bit of a pink, which is nice. Now we'll come up here and we'll go to the top right side. And this one we're going to do a little different this time. No line. We're going to put a couple of little dots. Dot 1, dot 2. Oh, that second dot is not super visible, so let's give it a little another dab. And then dot 1 and dot 2 here. Oh, I'm gonna come clean those up. Those went on a little too, not quite as clean as I wanted, so. Give that a moment to dry, and we'll come in. We're going to do some dots on the rest of the canopy here as well. So, glass that we have ignored, so do a dot here. And when it's a little subtle, it's, there we go, better. Dot there, dot that one. And this one we can probably actually come in and pull a little bit of a line here on the bottom. And pull straight back. There we go. This other piece here is going to be a little bit more difficult. Probably not going to get much out of it because it's really small. But we can pull a line there. And come over here, do the same thing. Like I said, the canopy can be a little bit of a tedious spot to work on. Lots of little things, but these little tiny dots and stuff, they really do help. There we go. And we'll try and pull a little thin line on the bottom edge. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Too much, we hit that weird. Clean that up. Do not let that dry. That ended up being a slight disaster. But you guys are seeing me do this, and I think that is important. So I don't like editing out. I don't like editing out a lot of things. But I specifically like for you guys to see when I make a mistake. I know I've mentioned this before in this series, maybe even the same video. But I think it's important to see what I do and know that like it's likely you're going to make similar mistakes. And how did I rectify the issue? And what I did there was I came in while it was wet, got my paintbrush rinsed, and came in and got it wet and wiped it off as quickly as possible. You can always come back in and fix stuff if you don't catch it quick enough, but if you can catch it fast enough, you can save yourself a little bit of a hassle. So let's come back in and re-hit that the dot. Okay, got the dot. And now let's try and get that line this time without making a mess. It's going to be difficult. It was real easy on the other side. I don't know why this angle's harder for me. Or why my paint is not flowing off of my paintbrush today. It's definitely flowing onto my hand, but not the Mini today. There we go. Okay, we're going to have to settle for that. And then we had the 2 dots that we missed on the front. And now that it's dry, we'll come back in and try to get that rectified. Give yourselves a little... There we go. And then this one up here kind of did a bit more of a slash, but I don't want to clean this off. Give our brush a quick rinse. Grab a little bit more of that white one more time. And one of the things that I really like to do is to apply kind of a glint to the glass. So we're going to grab them this way. And we're going to pull just 2 like little lines. Just shoop, shoop. Ugh, yeah, this white paint is giving me so much trouble today. What is going on? And those went on a bit more intense than I wanted. So I'm going to try and feather that, but I'm not going to stress it too much otherwise. Okay. And let's try and get us one down here. And redo the one here. There we go. I find those like little kind of white kind of glints just help give you the illusion of like a scratch or a like fading glint mark on the light. I'm not sure how to describe it, but I like it. Now with that done, we need to tidy up the canopy. For that, we're going to come in with some of our contrast black Templar. There is a black for Army Painter that probably works just fine. I'm just very partial to a couple of the Citadel or Games Workshop contrast paints, and in particular, I really like the black Templar and the Wildwood. Now, we didn't use Wildwood on this one, but they're both on my desk because I used them with a lot of frequency. So let's grab a little bit of this black. And be careful when you put this on your desk. It's really easy to knock these over, and that's a real quick way to lose $7. So we're going to load up our brush here and kind of get a tip on it and pull some of the load out because we don't want this to be sopping. And now for the very difficult and tedious process of hitting the edges of our canopy and re-blacklining them. Our oil wash in the previous step did help with this, but we came in and we kind of lost some of that during the canopy process. So we're going to come in and we're going to re-blackline those. And I've already messed up a spot right here on the white, but we'll tidy up as best we can. And if you do mess that up, you can always come back in and pull a highlight next to the black. So not the end of the world. And this step is usually really nice for me because it means we're towards the tail end of our canopy process, because this is the kind of cleanup step for me. I also feel it helps make the overall canopy itself kind of pop. See that black line up there really just helps bring the whole piece into focus. And we're going to come down here and we're just going to hit this edge, because we also had some of that purple touch, so we're just going to clean that up. And over on this side, come around a corner here. All right, and now we're going to try our best to hit the edges relative to the glass. That part is tedious and takes some time, and we are likely, maybe, we'll see, maybe I'll get it right this time, likely to hit some areas of the canopy and may have to fix those, but we're going to try as best we can not to. I like to paint over that bar so there's a little bit of a separation there. I think it's kind of nice. It's a little bit of a personal preference, but that's what I like to do. There we go. And now, And if you've got a much finer brush, you can also use that. I find that helps. I just did not grab mine. Perhaps I should have. Maybe I should have. I'm in here messing things up. But not a big deal. So like you can see right here, we've got that separation between the white line we did that's now kind of pink and this bar, which is where we want to black out. And we're going to come up here. Okay, I'm going to give one more pull across this top edge just to darken that up. There we go. So, like, even just that helps subtly pull the focus of the glass up because it pushes the recesses down. And I really like this step. I think it really does help. Regardless of how you're doing your canopies, blacklining the edges is very, very helpful, in my opinion. Some of these side areas aren't as crucial because you just can't see those pieces of glass as well. But the front-facing ones, for sure, are very, very important. And like I said, we're likely to mess up some of the white, but we can always come back in because it's the topmost layer, and we can just re-pull a few highlights and tidy it up, and good to go. In this case, we are almost finished. Okay. Just a few more lines to pull. We're also hiding some of our crimes here where some of our white wasn't super good. So we'll just clean that up. Okay, now we've got this line on the front between the white and the orange, and we're just going to black that little edge out as well. Because I think that's going to help give us a separation, which we want. Whoops. Okay, and much like we did on the top canopy here, I'm going to put some separation right here. And right here. Because I think that separation between the bars looks good and makes some sense. And we'll do one kind of on this side too. Alright, so now we just need to come in and tidy up that white, and I think that canopy is looking really, really nice. Look at that. With our canopy drying, now it's time to come in and work on our lasers and PCs, and for that we're going to be using some magic blue and prismatic bolt from the Army Painter Speed Paints. Now, you could use the Orc Green or a different blue if you want. I think these right out of the bottle are probably going to be good. So give those a good shake, as you could probably hear. And now it's time to grab just a little. We probably don't need a huge amount of this because there's just 2 little spots for each to go. So a tiny little dot in our palette here is probably good to go. And I think if we got our pre-shade right, with these colors are probably fine. So let's grab them without thinning them, check it over white. Looks pretty good. Grab the prismatic bolt over white, pretty good. So I'm going to grab our prismatic bolt, got our brush here, and just cover the front area of that. All right, so we're covering the whole front. Try not to bleed over the side, but definitely the whole front. And look at that. Same thing down here. That's super easy, super easy. Those are done, just let them dry. I'm gonna come in with that magic blue. Whoops, load up our brush a little better. And for this one, the hole is a little, or recess is a little bit deeper, so and wider, so we're going to try to manage the pooling because we want that center spot to remain visible. And this blue is a little darker, so if you don't, if you're not careful, you completely cover that up. But I think we're in good shape. Now you could come in here, we are not, but you could come in here and also edge highlight these, put a little white dot on them like we did the canopy in the corners, just to brighten them up. But for speed's sake, I think this is where we're going to be. You might have seen right there as well, I completely covered the center, I came back in and sopped up some of that paint. So just move quickly and you'll be in good shape. I'm going to pull a little bit more of that out. Yep. And I think those are good to go. I think the canopy is good to go. The only thing left to do on this particular step is to matte varnish those so that they are sealed. This paint, because it is the 1.0, will reactivate, and if you do anything else to it, it might bleed. So we're going to go ahead and seal that, and then we will be finished for today. And with our varnishes now dry, our mini is complete for today's video. So we've gone over applying the white here for our weapons, and then some speed paint or contrast paint would work over the top to give you a very fast glow. You could apply a little dab of white in the bottom corners and a really tight one into the centers if you want to give a hot spot. We did not, but that's something you could do. We also have our canopy done here, and that was a bit more in-depth than the rest of the piece, but hopefully you've taken what you've learned from all the other steps and realized that you could do some of these types of techniques here if you want to, or these techniques on the others if you would like. Depends on how much time you want to spend. In closing, for this portion of our tutorial series, I want to reiterate that every step of the way during this process, I've been trying to present tools with speed, generally kind of being one of the focal points, but please, please, please remember that you can take any of these tools and use them to any effect that you want in terms of speed, or taking your time to get a higher quality if you so choose. In our final video for this series, as I do with all tutorials, I'll have a follow-up where I talk about the process and reflect on what I've done, and I'll talk about things I would do different, things we could do better, or other things that you could do here, and a lot of those would be things we've mentioned in these videos anyway. That said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found some value in this, and as always, thank you for hanging out. If you want to support what I do, check the description down below, and as always, keep rolling your dice, keep painting your models, and I will catch you guys next time.
If you made it this far, you're probably a viewer that already hits that like button when you see a video come up. You're probably already a subscriber, and you probably jump into the comments down below to help support the channel, to help support that algorithm. But if you're looking for some other ways to help support the channel too, make sure you check the description down below. Maybe you want to pick up some paints from Monument Hobbies. That's my paint of choice. The Pro Acrylic line is chef's kiss, good stuff. Maybe you want to check out some of the offerings from Death Designs, where I work in my day job. We got plenty of 3D printed products, as well as MDF terrain, some of the stuff that I have designed myself and we play with here on the channel. And if you're looking to bolster your Battletech ranks, miniatures, and offerings, make sure you check out Bobby from Fortress Miniatures and Games. He's one of the main supporters of the channel as well, and supporting any of these companies helps support what I do and helps to ensure that I can continue to bring content to all of you. If you want to become a super supporter, I highly recommend you guys check out the Patreon. You guys give that extra little edge to help push more content out, and I really do appreciate that. And my ultimate goal on the channel is to continue to be able to not only put out the content we have now, but to get to a point where you can put out more content later, whether that be battle reports or painting tutorials or just more rambles, anything at all. I'd like to be doing more content for you. This is something that I enjoy. I like being able to cast a light into the darkness to bring a little bit of hobby positivity to all of you and make you feel good, and also enjoy playing games myself. As we do the final sign off here though, I do want to go ahead and switch on over and do the scroll of awesome to showcase all the Patreon supporters, the super supporters of the channel, to give them some recognition for helping support what I do. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you guys next time.